Board Member Orgel, Board Member Woods, Board Member Love, Board Member McCormick, Board Member Jones, Board Member Bibbs, Board Member Cornell, Board Chair Avant.
Here.
You have 7 present.
We have a quorum. We're going to now move to the Pledge of Allegiance, and the color guard is present to post those colors. Tonight we have present Cadet Colonel Desiree Reed, Cadet Major Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. In keeping with SES's acknowledgement of arts education as being vital to college, career, and life readiness, tonight's Spotlight on the Arts will feature 2 groups of students. The first group of students is from Colonial Middle School under the direction of teachers Jennifer Shubaru and Robin Webb. Students created artwork about social injustices in our country. Their work was featured during South Main Trolley Art Night and in the Commercial Appeal on February 11. Please congratulate these students and teachers in their work to express understanding of current social issues throughout meaningful works of art. Oh, let's just have them come back. Okay, we're gonna actually flip the order. We're gonna actually have Watoto. A spotlight on the arts includes from Riverview K-8 in partnership with the Watoto Memphis Performing Arts Academy under the direction of Donna O'Connor. Latasha Harris is the principal of Riverview K-8. Thank you to the students who will be performing tonight. Okay. Thank you, Watoto. Thank you, Watoto, and to the students of Riverview K-8. I know Mr. Connor does an excellent job of providing this type of performance within our schools, and so we thank them for coming to share a little bit about what they are learning and doing. Superintendent, we now have Spotlight on the Arts with Colonial Middle School.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So our leadership team, Madam Chair, has been doing some work around race and equity. And as part of that work, we were blessed with some very moving student work that focused on a lot of issues here in Memphis. And I thought it was particularly relevant and powerful as we move towards Dr. King's 50-year anniversary. And so I want to ask those students to come forward along with their teacher, Ms. Shibaru, I'm sorry, and share that artwork with you all.
Good evening.
My name is Finnegan Orr. My artwork is about the segregation of schools today. Despite the integration of school following the Brown versus the Board of Education, schools are schools are back to being as segregated as they were before. 80 of Latino students and 74 of African American students attend school with mostly non-white students. Segregation in schools is also along economic lines. I show the difference in schools cafeterias between the mostly white, wealthy private school and the mostly minority cash-strapped public schools.
My name is Faith Halbersmith. It's about the use of standardized testing to label students to prevent them from opportunity. Dr. Umar Johnson came up with the theory that test scores on the new Jim Crow system used to keep black people and poor people from opportunity. Dr. Johnson points out, for example, that whites and blacks score equally on the intelligence measures of IQ tests except for verbal reasoning and vocabulary. Verbal reasoning, Dr. Johnson argues, involves prior knowledge and does not measure true intelligence. Students who grow up in a home where standard English is spoken, have books at home, and take trips to museums have an advantage over those who do not. The test, therefore, not measuring ability. Schools and colleges set minimum score requirements that prevent many poor and minority students from have difficulty attaining.
I will be reading in the place of Lydia Jackson. Test scores, attendance, conduct, and dropout rate have an influence on the likelihood that an individual will go to jail. The greatest impact is on African American and Latino boys. Over half of African American males drop out or are expelled from high school. Of those, 60% will wind up in jail. 70% of all in-school arrests are black or Latino students. Zero tolerance school discipline policies and policies with a high emphasis on test scores, such as No Child Left Behind, increase the dropout rate, which feeds the prison population. I drew a young African American boy in an oversized prison uniform. Depending on his child's scores and disciplinary record, he has already been predicted to go to jail after a possible dropout. Measures need to be put in place in our community to prevent the likelihood of children growing up to be prisoners.
I'm going to read this in place of Isaac Payne, who was supposed to be here this evening. For African American males born in 2001 or later, 1 out of 3 can expect to go to prison in their lifetime if things do not change. 87% of the prison population in Memphis is African American. This statistic means that some of my friends will wind up in prison sometime in their life, and I don't want that to happen. What is our society doing to fix this?
My name is Charles Jones, and my piece is on money in prison. 1 day in prison costs more than 10 days on parole or 22 days on probation. 1 in every 100 adults is in prison. 80% of prisoners work in prison to help with the cost of feeding them and housing them. Lots of money is spent, and lots of money is profited on keeping people in prison. In the past 23 years, California has built 23 prisons, but only 1 public college. It cost California $100 million to build a new prison. Over the last 20 years, national spending on prisons has increased 6 times greater than spending on higher education.
Hi, my name is Bianca Massey.
Speak up a
said-
little, sweetheart.
I said, hi, my name is Bianca Massey. Okay, so, my piece is on hope for black-owned businesses. And, so Memphis population is majority African American, but black-owned businesses make up less than 1% of the business revenue in the whole city. This makes me feel upset for our community. I drew a map of mostly black neighborhoods in Memphis, such as South Memphis and North Memphis. Unfortunately, in these areas, you don't see the thriving businesses that you see in my picture. There are mostly broken down houses and buildings with boards over the windows. Even the people are doing different things. You don't see people walking their dogs or riding their bikes in these parts of towns. I wanted to show the upside of what these places in our city would look like if we let go of stereotypes and racism and invest in all of the neighborhoods.
I'll be reading the piece from Madeline Ellis. My piece is based on the ways companies make money off of immigrants in the United States. Immigrants do many hands-on jobs such as painting houses, construction, and cleaning, but get paid very little for their work. Private corporations and legislative groups such as ALEC, CCA, and GEO make money by incarcerating undocumented immigrants in detention centers. Each night that someone stays in these private facilities, a profit is made. These organizations make up $166 per person each night. These organizations spend millions lobbying for private prisons, but wind up profiting in the billions.
Thank you. So this is a tradition of projects that I do with my students each year about social injustice. So last year's unit was about institutional racism. So the students studied a wide variety of topics and then chose their particular topics of interest and created these artworks and student statements with them. Thank you.
Mr. Earl of the Subaru, we want to thank you for coming out to share. It is really a reflection that many of the topics that your students have chosen to share as works of art to depict what happens in this community are topics that obviously this board deals with each and every day. So we appreciate your students bringing back a reflection of things that give us some moral compass about the work that we're doing here at SCS. Thank you. Mr. Caldwell?
So I would hope board members recognize Ms. Shiveru and how many times she comes up here. So I just wanted to acknowledge her for the great work that she's doing. She's a former Memphis City School optional student, and the lady that taught her is still working for us. So just think it's a wonderful thing. We lose sight of all the great things that Memphis City Schools accomplished, and this in particular, I think, is something that's very moving. And I think it's sometimes just the honesty that you see from the students and the way they frame the issues is very powerful. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cornell?
Madam Chair, it's very interesting. Can I say something about testing?
Sure.
Because the students.
What
What's
are the
interesting
students?
to me is that, and I did not know they were going to be here, but I'm reading a book called Weapons of Math Destruction by a PhD from Harvard. And in it's a line that backs up what the student said. It said, attempting to score a teacher's effectiveness by analyzing the test results of only 25 or 30 students is statistically unsound, even laughable. The numbers are far too small given all the things that could go wrong. So I think when the students talk about testing as can possibly being harmful to education and progress, we have PhDs in data science from Harvard writing books that agree.
We appreciate all of the hard work that our students, and I'm hopeful that Ms. Powers, maybe those works of art could be shared on our website for all to see. It's a powerful way for us to be able to talk about what our kids are learning and teaching back to us as adults. Next on the agenda, we have another special recognition. Shelby County Schools announces Teachers of the Year Emily Tabakin, a teacher at Kingsbury Elementary School, who was named Teacher of the Year for SES Elementary School. She is also Ms. T and has demonstrated a positive example for her students by creating a space for students to enjoy learning as much as she loves teaching. The principal at Kingsbury is Mr. Wynn Earl. We also have Tanyola Matthews. She's a high school teacher of the year. Ms. Mathis works to help SES students with special needs transition into the workforce through a program which she has helped create with the University of Memphis. We are so proud of our SES teachers. Thank you for all you do. And lastly, we'd like to recognize Westwood High School PTSA. I'm sorry, is Ms. Tabakin and Ms. Mathis here tonight? Oh, if you could come forward, and we're going to do a presentation picture with the board. Let's give them a round of applause.
Camera. Don't quote me on that. Don't leave. Don't leave.
We'd now like to have come forward the Westwood High School PTSA, and I have a special resolution that I'd like to read recognizing them. So if the members of the Westwood PTSA could come forward, please. I just want to acknowledge that Westwood has suffered a tremendous loss in Coach Harris, and I appreciate them coming today in spite of. But I'd like to read into this resolution into the record. Whereas Westwood High School Parent-Teacher Student Association is comprised of devoted Memphians who have profoundly impacted the lives of students, educators, and the community. And whereas Westwood High School PTSA has received national recognition for the National Parent Teacher Association, and whereas Westwood High School PTSA is a strong advocate for children's education, family engagement, and community involvement, and whereas PTSA is a resource for students and families, and whereas members of the Westwood High School PTSA are members of a prominent education and community service organizations throughout the United States, and whereas Westwood High School PTSA has fostered a positive rapport with educators and administrators throughout the Shelby County School District, and whereas members of Westwood High School PTSA have received a grant from the National PTA to promote family engagement during the Take Your Family to School Week, and whereas Westwood High School PTSA shows true commitment to Westwood High School, Shelby County Schools, and the city of Memphis, Tennessee, now therefore it be resolved that the Shelby County Board of Education recognizes the Westwood High School PTSA for its community involvement, education advocacy, and family engagement throughout Shelby County, and congratulates the Westwood High School PTSA on its receipt of a grant that awards the from the National Parent Teacher Association, submitted on the 27th day of February 2018 by Shantae Avance, Stephanie Love, Chris Caldwell, Teresa Jones, Kevin Wood, Scott McCormick, Miska Clay Bibbs, Billy Orgel, and Mike Kernell. Please come forward. Yes. I just want to thank the Westwood PTSA. This is obviously, they were recognized for a national grant because of their work within Westwood, so we want to continue to support our schools who are doing great work, but I would be remiss if we didn't just say, take a moment of silence for Coach Harris, who was not mentioned earlier, but it was a tremendous loss to the Westwood community, so we could just take a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to acknowledge Coach Harris as well, and I'm glad you brought that to the attention of the body. Many people may not know, but Coach Harris actually coached in Bolivar, Tennessee, middle school prior to coming to Memphis. He was actually my football coach, and which may not be mentioned at the service, but probably one of the best advice that he ever gave was stick to the books, Kevin, and and leave sports to the real athlete. So he will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are on the question of the break. Public comment. Okay. Now we're moving to the approval of the agenda. If there are no objections, there are a few items to be added to the agenda. One would be the resolution to support mock trials by supported by Shantae Avant, and then a resolution. Let me write this one. A resolution supporting participation in the Students at the Center Challenge, a joint initiative of the Coalition for Community Schools, Communities in Schools, and Strive Together, submitted by Ms. Clay Bibbs. And then there's also one other agenda item, which is the dual services for Voice, WAN, and IA. If there are no objections, then these items will be added to the agenda. Seeing no objections, now we're to the question of the. Do I need to? You do. Okay, so we get a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
I don't have it.
Board Member Woods. Board Member Love.
Board Member Love.
Board Member McCormick. Aye. Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs. Aye. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
We have a quorum. The agenda is approved. Now it's on the question of approval of the minutes. This is the approval of the January 30th, 2018 board business meeting minutes and approval of the February 20th, 2018 work session meeting. It is Is that right? We are. Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes? Not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member Woods. Board Member Love. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs.
Aye.
Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant. You have 9 ayes.
The minutes are approved. Now we'll move to the public comment section. Tennessee law makes no specific provisions for the participation of the public at meetings of local boards of education. However, board policy provides that not more than 30 minutes of each regular business and special call meeting shall be devoted to public comment. Speakers must state their name, home, address, organization he or she is representing, if any, and subject of the presentation before they are permitted to proceed. Speakers may offer objective comments about school operations and programs that concern them. To refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with the school system, particularly when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. The chairman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to board rules. The timer projected on the screen to your right and directly behind the board will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. When you hear 2 bells, your time has expired. First, we'll have Claudette Boyd. Second will be Keith Williams and Jesse Jeff. Maybe we should number.
My time. Okay. As an advocate for Melrose High School, I'm here to regard an issue with zoning. I have sent letters to you board members regarding zoning at Melrose High School, including all the Orange Mound and the feeder location of Sherwood community as of yet. After letters requesting to participate and asking procedures to how to get our zoning, attendance zoning corrected, I have received no valid answer from anyone here, including Michelle Stewart, the Chief of Staff, our representatives. No one here has given us a valid answer as to why the zoning was changed. Many suggested due to pure political reasons for one individual former board members. However, no one is willing to address and correct this issue. We currently have a large majority of our Orange Mound residents being bused to other schools. We have students assigned to White Station who live 1 block away from the school. You can see the school within walking distance. I am now requesting to meet with anyone that y'all deem necessary to change the current school attendance zoning, to be at the table when these attendance zoning lines are drawn for 2018 and 2019. We just simply ask to be treated fairly. Melrose now has a capacity where we have under 560 students. White Station has over 2,200 kids. So it seems like it's just impossible for us to get this attendance zoning issue down pat. So I'm asking for your help. Please help us so we can be at the table and not on the table. Thank you.
Keith Williams, the Memphis-Shelby County Education Association, is Executive Director, 126 Flicker. I do not purchase anything other than life insurance that I will not realize until I die. It is impossible and preposterous to me that this Board of Education has engaged in curriculum contract that promises by its very nature you will not realize any growth for 4 or 5 years. There's a learning, there's no such thing. Nothing replaces good teaching and learning. I don't care what you buy. Now, if you're going to buy something and the promise is already there, you're going to fail for the first 3 years. That makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense. And I'm going to share with you, I have a copy for each of you to have the state standards in writing. This EL curriculum does not address a standard on the writing curriculum in the state. You are setting these children up for failure. You're setting the teachers up for failure, and they will fail if they follow this EL curriculum. It does not address a standard. There are more than 57 writing standards for the state of Tennessee. None of them are addressed in the EL curriculum. It is a canned curriculum. It is scripted. You are told what to say, when to say, and how to say. Teachers do not teach that way. Children do not learn that way. None of you learn that way. The question was asked at the last meeting. I learned to read Spot, Dick, and Jane, but you learned by sight, by phonetics, and by rote. And there were words that you learned to put into sentences. There is a method to teaching, reading, and writing, and this curriculum does not follow it. And if we go down this road, we are wasting citizens and the money of this community. Thank you.
My name is Jesse K. Jeff. I reside at 1212 Stage Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a UNICEF MSCEA. Superintendent, school board members, I stand before you today to address the climate and culture here at SCS. 8 aspects of a positive school climate and culture are positive teacher-student interactions, students who feel safe, connected, and engaged, policy promoting social, emotional, ethical, civic, and intellectual skills, clear, appropriate, and consistent expectations and consequences to address disrupted student behavior. Parental involvement, collaborative relationships between the school leader and the faculty as well as between faculty members. Focus on learning and high expectation for student achievement, decrease teacher turnover and increase teacher satisfaction. The students can see this. So for me, the 2 most important are collaborative relationships between the school leader and faculty as well. According to SCS Policy 4050, Effective School Leadership, the district believes that school leaders should possess strong professionalism, maintain confidentiality, integrity, fairness, and consistency. That's not happening at all locations. Also, Policy 40002 talks about staff ethics. The policy applies to all individuals employed by SES. Contrary to some principals' popular belief, it applies to them also. A possible solution would be to create an instrument or app that would replace the antiquated Insight survey. This Insight survey is not secret, and that precludes the district from receiving the truth about the instructional leaders.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Jeff. I'm going to call the next three names: Brian Biggert, Derry Phillips, and Annette Harris.
I'm Brian Bigard, 3379 Coleman Road. I represent MSCEA Board of Directors. Good evening to the superintendent, members of the board. In the wake of the 2017-18 grading issue cloud that clouds our district, I would like to share with you my concerns about Power School and Power Teacher Pro. My first concern is that the constant dropping of students that are actively sitting in class have been dropped several times for reasons unknown to teachers. When these students are wiped off the roll, we lose assignments, grades, which include tests and classwork, absences and tardies, anecdotal notes of importance such as parent contacts and parent information. Secondly, teachers become blind without knowledge of a student when he or she transfers from a different school. We don't have access to prior grades, attendance, parent contact information, classroom teacher of record at a huge disadvantage. My solution is to demand training, not by the Shelby County school personnel, but by the personnel of the Power School and Power Teacher Pro administrators during in-service week. That will allow the teachers also, my suggestion is that you will allow the teachers access to the historical grades of the child, which are presently done by the principal and their designee. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Derry Phillips. I represent MSCEA 126 Flicker Street and the 4% of African American males who represent in this country. Strength is ordained out of the mouths of babes, and these children just gave us some real live statistics in regards to the school to prison pipeline. The education climate scorecard that was posted on the website is a slap in the face for us who work with children every day, and to know that it's made up of attendance, suspension rates, and expulsion rates. If we know that this data is there, how come we can't be more proactive than reactive and close our schools because of the climate? If we know that the suspension rate is at that rate and there is a problem, and we have a state that's going to have an accountability model that's going to translate those numbers to that and close our schools, I just believe that we in Shelby County schools can do something about it, and that is address our students, support them better, but not close our schools and communities, because New Orleans has 5 public schools right now, and it has destroyed their community. Philadelphia has, I don't know how many public schools right now, but it has destroyed their community. These statistics and these numbers are useful. I just think we're using them in a different way that is not proactive.
Good evening. My name is Annette Harris, 4100 Mill Branch Avenue, Memphis and Shelby County Education Association. I stand before you trying to get ending of the district's purpose of fresh starting schools. When I look at the schools that have been fresh started, I think of a deck of cards that's being shuffled, meaning that teachers and staff are moved from school to school by way of reapplying for jobs. Many of the schools that have been fresh started are still understaffed, and with the numbers of retiring teachers, many more will be. Well, is it safe to say it's better to have a sub than a qualified teacher? At Robert R. Church Elementary, we just filled a 4th grade position and school is almost over. but we're thinking about the children, right? Right. Speaking of Robert R. Church, the empowerment zone, and the 3 phases of intervention, we've only fully completed phase 1, but we're about to be fresh started due to the crunching called data. What about the promise to complete the plan of action with the existing staff that are stakeholders in our school and community? Many of our teachers have a vested interest in our school because they are a product of the community. Many of them live in the neighborhood, and their children even attend Whitehaven schools. Instead, you want to bring in a new group of teachers implementing the same interventions that we were promised. Have you ever heard of a promise made is a promise kept? Somewhere I read if we do not stop to help our children, what will happen to them? We as teachers want to address the pedagogy of education. Therefore, I say to the board, will the ills that truly impact students' learning ever be addressed? Thank you.
Next, I'm going to call the next 3 names: Andrea Brown, Miss Madison, and Elena Terry. Andrea Brown, Miss Madison, and Elena Terry.
Hello, my name is Alana Terry, and I stay at 2845 South Dunmore Street, and the topic is security and school officers. I am a student attending Melrose High School, and
Speak up a little, sweetheart.
I am a student that attends Melrose High School and is ranked and graduated in the top 20. And I got expelled for an officer's ignorance and excessive force. I am very disappointed at my principal and majority of the staff at Melrose High School when the goal at every school is to make sure that students succeed. Now I am fearful of returning to school because of the excessive and unnecessary force the officers used on me, my mother, and my sister. I have goals and dreams, and it is hard to stay focused being in fear to go to school because of the officers. Officers are meant to keep school safe and comfortable to attend and not make school a place to fear.
Hello, my name is Anne Marie Madison. I am at 2930 Sam Cooper Boulevard. I teach 3rd grade at William Herbert Brewster. However, I'm here representing myself as an advocate for EL. Once I started doing the EL, or I should start with this, before we were doing the EL, my students were simply asked to regurgitate information from unconnected texts. They were not interested in them, they could not connect to them, and they simply did not retain the information that they were getting out of the books. Since doing the EL curriculum, my students have been able to retain. They're able to make connections with the books and the characters. The books themselves are beautiful, inspiring.
I'm going to ask the audience to give every speaker the same respect. Regardless if you agree with them or not, I'm going to ask for you to give them the same respect given to you. You may continue.
Thank you. The texts are relevant, beautiful, and inspiring to the students. I have students that are able to tell me and use the information that they've gotten from the books weeks and months later. They use it when they're taking their test. They use it when they're just in the hallway to remind each other, oh, don't forget, don't be like Selig and devour your books. And I hear it all throughout the hallways with the students. My personal opinion, I hear a lot of talking about how it doesn't address the standards directly, and that's true, but you can actually pull them out of the text if you do a little bit of front loading and front work. The other thing that I think that is so great about EL than the other books is that it is literally teaching the kids how to critically think. So if the kids are able to do the EL curriculum, they will be able to do well on the tests, because we want our students to be able to critically think and not simply regurgitate facts. Thank you very much.
Elena Terry.
My name is Samara Terry. Stay at
2845 South Dunmore Street, and the topic is school officers and security. And I'm a sophomore at Melrose High School. I was a victim assaulted by an officer. I was expelled due to the ignorance and over aggressive behavior towards me. I feel like this is not fair that I have to go to school in fear of being assaulted. I never attended a school with a non-concerned principal. I have witnessed a student that wanted to kill themselves because of the aggressiveness in the officers. This officer is rude and disrespectful and dangerous to be in the school around children with that much aggression. All I'm asking is for a change.
We next have, I'm going to call the next three speakers, Tiffany Atkins, Sharonda Beard, and Wayne Ingram.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Atkins. 2845 South Dunmore is my address. I'm here due to the excessive behavior in the officers at the schools. I was a victim of being assaulted, me and my daughters, by officers in the school. Just very disrespectful and rude. No communication there at all. And I hear my kids come home stating all the time about the aggressive officers, all the time students wanting to hurt themselves. It's just too much. All they want to do is go to school and learn. That's it. I know that they're there for the safety, and the officers are enforcers, but they don't have to be so aggressive towards the children. Like I said, being a victim in this myself, it was very, very heartbreaking. So I really am asking you guys to really investigate these officers in these schools with these babies, because the aggression is not necessary. They're putting more fear in them than keeping them safe. Thank you.
Good evening. How are you all? Sharonda Beard, Principal, Balmore Ridgeway, 905 Grosvenor Avenue, speaking as principal and advocate of EL. I had the opportunity to travel to Atlanta, Georgia, with some of the cabinet members of this district. And this was spearheaded by Dr. Bird and Dr. Whitelaw. And when we got there, we thought our trip was going to be dizzy because of the snow. But although we experienced that snow during our time, we thought, okay, this is not going to be worth our time. It turned out to be just what we needed. Time to reflect, time to brainstorm. We had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Diamond Jack, principal at Hollis Innovation Academy, and her administrative team, and wonderful, wonderful reps from the EL team. They shared their pitfalls, their major successes, and their strategies within EL, many of which we felt as principals we are currently implementing here at our schools, and teachers are well aware of these strategies. As the president of the Principals Association within this district, I have received, like the Shelby County Schools MEA, numerous concerns about EL. From the implementation time frame, starting in November, the lack of resources, or the inability to see the rigor in the lessons or how the content will lead to an understanding of the standards. I've heard it all. But the problem does not lie in the curriculum. It is how it was rolled out to the principal.
Thank you, Ms. Beard.
And how I didn't get just
Thank you, Ms.
finish,
Beard.
and the teachers. Thank you.
Wayne Ingram, Dale Gill, and Charles Scott.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Ingram, and I am the president and CEO of the National Tourism and Heritage Association. My address is 2332 LaRose. It is a pleasure to say to you that CTE is a vital tool for our children to be. It is a pleasure to say to you that CTE is a vital tool for our children to be trained and be prepared for their decided career paths. The Tuskegee Institute experience going forward is the mantra. Practical education works. I must say from my experience as a DECA student in 1968 at Hamilton High School put me on a path which gave me the opportunity to speak to you today as a professional in the hospitality and tourism industry since 1979. This industry is ready to receive students that CTE sends us. My working with students enrolled in the Shelby County School CTA FBLA section as a volunteer judge for over 20 years has shown me that our children deserve this training, and various industries will appreciate our concerted efforts. I plan to continue to serve, and just on last week, I had the opportunity to speak before FBLA students at Cordova High School, and I must say that our assisting students at Ridgeway, White Station, Central, and Craigmont is working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Del Gill. I'm the Chairman Emeritus of the Whitehaven the Whitehaven Empowerment Zone Leadership Council.
Speak into the microphone just a little bit more. Thank you, Mr. Gill.
I am here to address a recommendation to consolidate Manor Lake and Manor Lake Elementary and Gita Middle School. The Whitehaven Empowerment Zone Leadership Council supports the recommended 10 schools for the WIZ for the school year 2018-19. The WIZ will render educational services with an approach of academic alignment and learning with a purpose. Schools in the Whitehaven Empowerment Zone will benefit from an aggressive partnership between Shelby County Schools, the leadership and staff of Whitehaven High, and the school's network of community partners such as Peer Power and the University of Memphis. The unique driver of success in the Empowerment Zone is the total vertical alignment across all schools in terms of academics, particularly in the core subject areas of math, language arts, and science, as well as the best teaching practice. Vertical alignment means teachers can collaborate and interact with students across the empowerment zones, providing more access to diverse and competitive courses like world language, business, and technology that will prepare them for college and careers. Parents, educators, and community stakeholders will form a unified leadership council and a unified PTO to ensure that they have an active voice in decisions that impact students across the empowerment zone, which will result in good stewardship for our entire community. As with our innovation zone, the empowerment zone model is added evidence of our commitment to strengthening feeder patterns and enhancing communities as we strive toward the reality of Destination 2025. Each school in the empowerment zone may receive a different level of intervention, support depending upon the school's performance and the need of their students. This model will cultivate our children's endless possibilities of learning opportunities and increase community involvement. The WIZ Leadership Council agrees with the schools chosen to become members of the WIZ. The WIZ Leadership Council is respectfully urging this elected body to approve the school consolidation of Manor Lake Elementary and Gita Middle School to create a new Gita K through 8 at the present Gita Middle School location at 4649 on Lake. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
Charles Scott, 3689 Huckleberry Street, 38116. Have a package for each one of the board members as well as the superintendent if we get started. Again, Madam Chairman, to the board commissioner, Superintendent Hobson, just give you a brief recap since the last time our PTSA council has been to you in front of January. I want to give a special thanks to Chairman Avant, Board Member Stephanie Love, Jones, and Bills for attending our council's Founder Day program. In your packet, you're going to see a lot of pictures in there. I also encourage you to go to our website. We have a lot more pictures of the various events as well. Also had the opportunity to attend Westwood High's program. They did a nice job there. You'll see some pictures there as well. It's been mentioned that they were one of 55 schools nationally that received a 1,000 grant from the National PTA. Also attended the Shelby County Commissioners meeting just on February the 19th. Again, it's important that we go to those meetings because they are the funding bodies. So I always encourage those parents and students here, now's the time to go to those meetings so we can support that when it comes time for the budget. Also, special thanks to the board members, Stephanie Love, Bibbs, Mr. Antonio Event, and all the school and PTA volunteers and chaperones who helped arrange, plan, to travel to Nashville on February 21st. On sporting that shirt, they took over 289 students from Shelby County schools, and they had the highest number. The next highest number was Chattanooga with 42. So we carried the place, and our students did a great job in advocating on our behalf. Again, a lot of more pictures on the website. I encourage you to go. And finally, I had the opportunity to attend the Memphis educational series, Leveling the Playing Field, Community Investment for All Youth Forum at the Civil Rights Museum, of which one of the panelists was Lois Phillips, the Director of Family and Community Engagement. I thank you for your time and appreciate your help and your cooperation.
I'm going to call the next three names: Andrea Brown, Lisa Jorgensen, and Mary Chandler. The last name is Molly Yen. Andrea Brown. Okay, Ms. Jorgensen.
Thank you. Lisa Jorgensen, board member of the United Education Association, the local affiliate of the Tennessee Education Association, and the National Education Association. Good evening. Thank you all for your dedication in support of public education and academic success for all students. I'd like to bring your attention to two surveys prepared by the United Education Association of Shelby County. The UEA has put together the two surveys to get better clarity from the district's K-5 ELA teachers tasked with implementing expeditionary learning. The UEA has asked them of the pros as well as the cons. The teachers were also invited to give personal, albeit anonymous, comments. The second survey, part 2, is asking K-12 teachers for recommendations for a successful next implementation. The UEA respectfully requests that agenda item 12.1 that's on today's business meeting agenda be tabled and sent back to committee. The surveys are scheduled to be held until March 9th, and we would like the vote for this particular item to be delayed until we are able to gather the data that both we and we believe the district would be interested and need to know. Thank you.
I just want to mention that our time clock keeps jumping, so our parliamentarian is keeping the official time. So if you hear a ding, it's because we are keeping the official time here. We are having a little technical problems. So we're now moving to Mary Chandler and then Molly Ann. It's okay. Oh, that's all right. Thank you, Mary, for coming out. It's a brave young woman to come up and speak in front of a microphone. No problem. So Molly Yan is our last speaker.
Good evening. My name is Molly Yuan of 1255 South Parkway East. In light of the recent Florida school shooting, I think we should all focus our attention on tightening campus security, at least on certain schools. I go to a school with an open campus, so we're completely exposed when we make our daily treks outside. I've also witnessed students who were easily able to sneak on and off campus. So what's stopping a criminal from doing the same? At this rate, nothing. Nothing is stopping them. Many of our security guards are also extremely passive, sometimes even neglecting their duties, which is absolutely unacceptable. I urge the board to carefully look into and evaluate the current security set in place at some of our schools. We cannot afford to remain complacent. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Now we'll move to the chair's report. I do want to just thank you. Thank Board Member Love and Mr. Avan and Community Engagement for really supporting. We do have one more public comment. Come on, Mary. You can do it. Let's give her a round of applause.
So, Mary wanted to get home and do homework, and I think we just got out of order on when she was going to read. So I was going to, and her mom's part of our system, and I'm going to read it for her. And I don't blame her because what are you in, fourth grade, Mary?
Third grade.
Third grade? It's tough for a third grader to get up. My name is Mary, and I live at, I'm reading, what do you call it, third person? Well, yeah, yes.
You're reading it third person.
Yeah, 8474 Stonewood Cove, Cordova, Tennessee. And I'm here to tell you that I like the EL program. My teacher lets me read real books and talk to my friends about what we read. I also like the writing activities that challenge my thinking, the work up, but I love to learn. Please allow the purchase of the EL materials so that I can keep reading their wonderful books. Thank you.
Mary, thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. Billy, you did a great job. We appreciate, and we know this just speaks a little bit to the resolution that I'm bringing forth later about the importance of having mock trials. I think expanding what mock trials looks like in our schools, because I think it's really, really important for us to be able to hear the voices of our kids. And so many of our kids have come out. I appreciate Molly coming to give voice to her concerns, and we ought to continue to find ways to amplify the voices of our kids. So thank you to both Mary and Molly, who had enough courage to come out and share their opinion with us tonight.